Hey, listeners, before we get to today's podcast, I just want to thank our sponsors who make this podcast possible. First off, we have Tiny & Sons Glass. Does your vehicle have cameras or driver's assist? If so, when your windshield is replaced, it will need to be recalibrated. What is recalibration? When your vehicle's windshield is replaced, the safety systems need to then be tested to ensure that they work with your new windshield. Some vehicles require static recalibration, and others require a dynamic recalibration. Not sure who to trust to take care of this recalibration for you? Well, just call Tiny & Sons Glass in Pembroke, Mass. They are experts in auto glass and registered company of the Auto Glass Safety Council. Plus, they make it easy. They will call your insurance company for you. Get your windshield replaced by their highly trained auto glass technicians and get your vehicle recalibrated so you can be back on the road. Tiny & Sons Glass, keeping you and your family safe. And our second sponsor today is Baxter Blue. Do you experience digital eye strain from too much blue light exposure from digital screens? Baxter Blue glasses are not your average frames. These blue light lenses filter 80% of the highest energy blue light, eliminating 99% of the glare. The past year, we've all been glued to our devices more than ever. And here at Inebri-art, we're making more content. We have some video content. We're doing a lot of audio stuff, live streaming, which all means I'm sitting in front of the computer. Pretty much any time I'm awake, I am in front of the computer, eyes glued to the screen. Our exposure to digital light has soared, and our eyes and our sleep are suffering as a result. Baxter Blue is also a force for good and provides a pair of reading glasses for someone in need for every pair sold. This is eyewear built for our digital age, and Baxter Blue is giving our listeners 10% off the next purchase of blue light, sleep, or kids glasses. Click on the link in our show notes for an exclusive discount. This is the sign you have been waiting for to invest in blue light glasses. We know you'll love your Baxters, and we know that you will feel the difference. So thanks again for our sponsors for sponsoring the show, and now let's jump right into the podcast. Did you hear that? Did you get like a automated voice?
Oh yeah, dude. I've got my
Is that new? Because I've never
I don't know if it's new. I've got my Zoom set up to do it because like with all the online shows, sometimes people would click record.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that it wasn't like their thing. I need to know if they're recording my shit. So like
Sure.
I would just so it just lets me know, and I have the option of like exiting the room until the recording stops.
Oh, okay. I've literally never heard that until recently, and it just kind of freaked the shit out of me the first time it happened. So. But welcome back, Inebri-ites. This is Andy, the Inebri-art podcast, as always. And if you aren't aware, clearly you haven't been following us on Facebook, we've been running a virtual comedy show since like sometime last summer. I think we're like up to 9 or 10 months of doing it.
Nice.
Hosted by the moderately mammal AJ Haypenny, and we've had a ton of people on there, lots of really funny people, and when I can, I try to get them on the podcast. And today we're joined by Winston Hodges. Welcome to the show, man.
With me.
I just wiped out shit over here. Sorry, knocking stuff over. So yeah, we had you on. You've been on the show, I think, twice now.
Yeah, I've done it twice.
Yeah. And the first time you fucking killed me. Like,
thanks, man.
You stood out. The thing that jumps out to me, and I've shown it to a few of my teacher friends, was the whole teachers in 2 weeks notice.
Oh yeah, thanks, dude.
that fucking was killed. So love that. So that when I heard that, I'm like, oh, I got to get him on the show. It'd be a lot of fun. But as I'm learning, is comedians get weird gigs. Like AJ's always talking about corporate shit, and you came on. You're talking about you're making environmental shit funny, like
basically just helping this like new startup nonprofit like the way it was pitched to me is they're like,
was it a YouTube channel?
No, it's weird. It's like a whole company, but their whole like they're in the fundraising portion, but the whole thing that they're trying to be is being a sustainable Amazon. So like that's what they're trying to do.
Okay.
So like a carbon footprint neutral website to get stuff is I think what the plan is. But they're trying to do videos and they're just like, yeah, we just think all this conservation and all this stuff about the earth is just so boring and no one wants to watch it. So they're comedians, climate change scientists to like kind of talk through stuff. And I was like, great. They're like, do you want to research stuff? I'm like, absolutely not. I want to know. I want to know nothing. And then I just got to play stupid and got to learn stuff. And then, would make fun of the climate change stuff a little bit, but not so much that it was defeating the purpose of.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. It was fun, but it was definitely just like, when we were getting started to do it, I was like, I can't believe they literally just sent me an email. I cannot believe that I agreed to do it. Like I was like, this is gonna suck, and it was a lot of fun. But I was like, this is fucking.
It doesn't jump out as like, oh, comedic gold.
Yeah, no, not at all. It is. It was one of those things where I agreed to, and I was like, I need something to do, and then it took like 2 months for them to get back to me, and then when they finally got back to me, I was like, shit, I forgot that I agreed. Do this.
So is like, are you an environmentalist in general, or was it just like?
I mean, like in theory, I am, but I also just like don't want to do any of the things that they say we need to do. So it's like I get that it's good to do these things. Like I'm pretty far left on the political spectrum, but also like I'm a human being that likes fast food and convenience. Like,
yeah,
So there's times where I'm just like, yeah, I don't really care if this is good for the environment. But I'm trying to be better about it. I'm trying to be a better person. And this was my way of giving back.
I see.
Like I can get other people to do the right thing so that I don't have to.
So it's self-serving. I like it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very self-serving. If I get 10 people to do it, then I can stay the same. And I've still made a positive impact.
You should recycle so I can throw this can on the ground.
Yes, dude, exactly. Like, oh my God. Yes, I'm going to do all this stuff so that I can still be lazy.
You should not wear fur. I'm going to go kill a baby seal.
Yes.
Nice.
That's the trade.
Yeah.
That's the trade.
I think it's a pretty good trade. If we had more people that were that self-serving, we'd be in a better situation.
I know, right? Because it's like if there was just enough people to really work hard to change other people to be better, then we could get away with more. Like I'm doing so much good.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing the whole stand-up comedy thing? I mean, I hate talking about it because I feel like I've been talking about it for 2 years now, but like COVID. It's like all we talk about. Like, did it derail shit? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It derailed so much momentum. I've been doing it about 6 years, and I was like, fine, where I was getting ready to move and from Richmond, Virginia into DC. And it was like, I'm working all these clubs and I'm like, all right, I'll be close enough to New York. I'll like have all these cool things coming up, like some comedy. Like I had all this stuff that was like, I'm going to hit some goals. That'll be really cool. Some marks that I want to, hit, some milestones. And then COVID hit and it was just like everything closed. That was it. I had to switch to doing virtual stuff, try to pivot to figure out how to make some money. And then it was like, all right, well, I'll make connections and stuff over this year and then just try to hit the ground running when stuff opens. It was that the dude that was getting up every night of the week, going out of town, getting paid every week, even if it's not like a ton or for every show. But I was working, and to go from working to like nothing is like, man, this sucks. It's like, fuck, I had just hit 5 years and then COVID hit. So I was getting ready to hit my 5-year comedy anniversary and then COVID hit. And it was like, all right, well, who knows how long this will be. I might be at my 10-year mark before I'm able to get back to where I was, but stuff's coming back. And I've learned some good skills over the last year that I wouldn't have learned if I hadn't, had a year to like make myself learn new shit.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people jump to the virtual show just to kind of stay in practice. I mean,
I would have quit if virtual shows hadn't happened. I absolutely would not still be doing stand up.
Really?
Yeah, dude, a year of not doing it at all, I would have been so happy, and I would have like just found another hobby. I think I would have just been like, oh, I don't really need this.
If I can convince 10 people to do comedy, then I don't have to anymore.
And I don't have to do it. I got 10 people to hit open, 10 people to do a bringer, and I didn't perform on it. That's what I did. I was like, there's 10 people.
That's so funny because like I kind of assumed that like the virtual show was kind of just the best case or the best that people could do. I didn't think people like liked it in any way, shape, or form. I felt like it was kind of like a drag.
I just know me personally, and if I take a year off of doing something and I don't, and there's not some way to stay in practice, I'm not going to go back to it. Like I would have been too scared to like, if I had taken 12 months off the stand up and hadn't written anything new, and it's like, all right, I'm back, and now I have to do a bunch of old shit. I would just been like, okay, this just isn't for me.
Yeah.
Like it's like I mean, like I'll stick with teaching. I'll find a new hobby, or like, or at least stand up wouldn't have been like, I'm trying to make it my full-time job. And I think that scenario, online shows, nothing to keep me busy, I would have just turned into one of those dudes where it's like, oh, I'll come out once a week and see my friends and not really care about getting paid or doing stuff like that. Like I just would have, my brain wouldn't have been able to handle that long of a break.
Did you find that your writing changed during COVID? Like,
oh yeah, the way I write changed, because I used to like never write off of stage. Like I would just have an idea, and then I'm just the type of comic that's like, well, I know why this is kind of funny, so let me get on stage and I'll just use my open mic time to like figure out how to make it funny for people. Yeah. And with COVID, you can't really do that on Zoom. It's really right on Zoom with all the other delays and stuff you have to deal with. So I just started like having an idea and being like, all right, well, let's try to write off a stage. So it's been nice, because now that we're back, I can like write on stage again, but I'm also writing stuff off of stage. So it's definitely given me an extra, tool in my utility belt for like preparing for comedy shows.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I've seen some people on our show who, kind of have that, the stand-up comics that kind of have like that awkward way of delivering, and that's part of what is funny is their awkward nature. And if they have like any lag or interruption, it just doesn't deliver at all. We had one guy on, it was so bad. And it wasn't his fault. It was like the lag where it became like it went from comedic awkward to just flat out awkward.
This is just flat out, this is bad.
Yeah.
Like that's not how, all the effort they put into finding out how to be awkward the right way just destroyed.
Yeah.
Through the internet.
I felt so bad. We had him back on again, and it was much better. He got a better Wi-Fi connection or some shit.
Awesome.
But, so you said things are opening back up or starting to open back up, but here in Massachusetts, we decided that COVID's over Friday, so that's it. We're back to normal.
Yeah, we're definitely got some of that. It's weird because like in DC and Virginia, it's like stuff's pretty much opening up the same way. Like it's like, okay, you can have your masks or not wear them. It's up to you. If you're vaccinated, you don't need to show proof of that. Like there's all this stuff, and but it's still like there's still certain businesses that are like you have to wear your mask and stuff. So you go one place and it's looks exactly like it was 2 years ago, and then you go to another place and they're like, sorry, you can't sit on these benches while you wait. We've only got half of our tables open. And it's like vaccinated in your off. It's like, who are we kidding? What's going on? Like,
I'm curious to see how that rolls here, because I stayed up in New Hampshire for a weekend, and New Hampshire has that live free or die kind of mentality, and I was really surprised because they're like, so we had the first place we stopped, we like pulled someone aside and we're like, hey, what what's going on? Do we need to wear masks? And they're like, oh, the state dropped all the mandates and left it up to the businesses, and we only went into one business that didn't require you to wear a mask.
Yeah. And that's kind of the same here. It's definitely up to the businesses. And I would say certain parts of Virginia, the businesses are like, fine. And then there's, I guess, for whatever reason, still are taking it pretty seriously, even for people that are vaccinated. So I'm vaccinated. So I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I feel fine. Like I'm like, I'm going to go and do whatever I want to do. But I wish that they made you show, like, I'm like one of the people where it's like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do vaccination IDs.
Yeah,
I get it.
For sure.
Let's shame people into getting a vaccine. Like, I totally get it. It's like, why not?
I'm right there with you, where people are like, I shouldn't have to show papers. That's like Nazi Germany. I'm like, or safety.
Yeah. Or like fucking, I don't know, dude. We used to have smoking and non-smoking sections. Do vaccinated and non-vaccinated sections at restaurants.
Sure. Yeah.
You want to like not have your mask on around vaccinated You can the fucking corner away from me with a separate ventilation system.
Or just a big plastic bubble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get the mentality of people where, because so Massachusetts is a very liberal state.
Yeah.
I live in Plymouth, which is a little red dot on that blue state.
Oh man.
And people just get so like angry about their freedoms, and it's just like, well, your freedom shouldn't make you angry.
Yeah.
And what about everyone else, man? Like it's so insanely self-centered. I don't understand it.
Just the worst people in this country are what make America America.
Mhm.
Like it's like you can not like this country. I'm one of the people I love it here, dude. I love stand up in this country.
Yeah.
I love all my freedoms and shit. And I'm sure there are other places that are more free than America, but we are like recklessly free. Like our freedom is reckless, and the things that we think are important are not that important. But that's what gives America its personality.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, the personality kind of sucks sometimes, but it's also just like, I don't know, man. I would rather be this than a boring that no one knows about. Like,
it's like I always think of our country as, you know, we're like 250 years old-ish, give or take, and compared to other countries, that's like nothing. So I feel like we're the teenager country.
Oh yeah, we're young.
We're just out of control. We're getting drunk on the weekends, taking chances, don't care, and somehow like every other country still has to tolerate our bullshit.
Yeah, because we make everything good. We make all the good media. Like it's like we create like, all right, British TV. That's cool, great, that's fine. We make literally everything else. I know good British. It's like every good movie.
I was literally I was over there in England. I think it was 2001, and I was excited. I'm like, I love Monty Python. I love British humor, and I got there and I put the TV on. And I'm like, ugh. And you don't really think about it. Like we just get their best,
the good shit.
Yeah,
we just get their good shit, dude. It's just like if the only thing America sent out was like The Sopranos and Breaking Bad and The Wire, they would be like, man, American. It's like, nah, dude, we send all of our shit out. Here's Wipeout. Enjoy Wipeout.
hey, I like Wipeout,
dude. I like Wipeout too. It's not The Sopranos.
Well, that's fair.
I also thoroughly enjoy a good Wipeout. I do like that show, but it's just so funny, man. I just because that's a great point. It's just like we just get the best of whatever, and then we're in America and we're just like, yeah, we make shit TV, and people eat it up, and fucking love it, dude.
Yeah,
people love it.
And it's so funny. Like now with Netflix and Hulu and all this shit, I never put on regular TV.
Yeah.
And when I do, they're like, oh, the Friday night's most top rated TV show. And I'm like, I've never heard of this thing.
Yeah. It's like, it's crazy where it's just like, there's whole sections of the country that are like watching regular television still. And there's just never seen this before. And it's like, well, there's 20 million people watching NCIS every week. So, all right. There's 20 to 21 million people every week that are tuned in to watch Mark Harmon deal with naval crimes,
and they say shit like that to me, and I'm like, that's still on? I just have no idea.
Oh yeah, dude, it's all TV my mom watches. That's all it is, dude.
With the kind of boom of all these avenues, YouTube and Netflix and Hulu and whatever other weird janky app service that like pops up for like 5 minutes, is there like, from the comedic standpoint, is there like a push to try and get involved when you see like these new ones? What was the one that like,
I mean,
was it Reno 911 like popped up on again?
Yeah, Quibi for like that was around for like 5 months, and then they went under almost immediately.
Yeah, and it was like a 5-minute show run or something. Yeah, it was weird.
Dude, they gave people 3 months of that for free. You got it free for 3 months, and when the 3 months ended, their retention rate dropped 90%.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and so 9 out of every 10 people that did the free 3-month trial did not stick around for an extra month, and that is unsustainable business model.
Oh sure, yeah. But do you feel like kind of a push to be like, oh, I'm trying to like do a Netflix special, or get on Hulu, or
I will. So like I'm someone that's like, yeah, Netflix is still the one, because the Netflix is like the type of credit where like you can be in the middle of nowhere, and just like they used to put the like where the Tonight Show meant a lot, where you could put it on a poster and you could be in the middle of nowhere and no one knows who you are. They're just like, oh, if he's on Tonight Show, we should probably buy tickets to that.
Yeah.
I think Netflix is like the new one where it's like if you see Netflix on somebody's poster but you don't recognize him, you're probably at least like, okay, well if he's funny enough to be on Netflix,
Yeah.
we should probably like just people look at these shows like comedy fans. I think Netflix is the big one. But
it's like the new HBO comedy hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'll take anything. I don't really care. Like I just would like a TV credit or like a type of credit that I can put to get myself into more clubs and stuff like that. Because it does like it's all about how many tickets you can sell. And without real television credits and stuff, it's really hard to like sell tickets unless you're like a humongous YouTube star or a TikTok star where you have millions of subscribers. And it's just like, yeah, if you have millions of people subscribing, you can probably sell out a few comedy clubs. But for the average comic, that's can like really, and I'll take any of them. I don't care. Oxygen Network, Lifetime. I'll put my special on fucking the Discovery Channel, dude. I do not care at all.
But I feel like that's your niche now with like your sustainable comedy there.
Yeah, dude, sustainable comedy. Yeah, don't check into how I live my actual life at all. Please. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to be better, but yeah, do not look into how
I find that even like the most diehard environmentalist excuses their own bullshit.
Yeah.
So I my roommate is like a crazy hardcore environmentalist. Will like bitch at me for using the dryer. Will complain that I buy laundry detergent in a plastic bottle instead of some sort of weird dryer sheets that she buys. But then every morning she like opens up all the windows and lets fresh air into the house, including like the coldest day.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, how is that environmentally friendly? And she's like, what? It's letting the fresh air in. And like, how's that not? It's just such a weird.
It is weird. They had me like, so I took like, the only research I did is she sent me like a couple, find out like at your conservation knowledge and stuff. And one of them was like, basically, it's just like, they're like all weird math problems. And so like, one's just like, so how long do you think you could run an LED light bulb for before it would equal the amount of energy that is consumed by doing a load of laundry? And I was like, okay, maybe 15 hours. And it's like, no, if you leave a light bulb on for 300 hours, you could light your house for 300 hours and barely touch what it is to run a dryer once. And I'm just like, okay, well, fucking, I'm not going to hang my clothes to dry. So I don't really know.
In like having the light bulb on for 300 hours is not going to dry your clothes.
Exactly. It's like, all right, I'll just wrap this light bulb. Like I'll wrap my t-shirt around the wet t-shirt around this light bulb and see if we can get an even dry. And it's stuff like that where she's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It's like, but she gave me some good pointers that she's like, for the average person, because that's what I made sure to ask. I was like, because I know like anytime I watch any of those things, I just will get overwhelmed where I'm like, this is too much. I can't do this. So why even try? Yeah. I was like, what can we do? And it's just literally like, she's like, how often do you eat meat? And I'm like, I eat meat every single day.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, well, if you eat meat 7 times a week, they're like, you can make a humongous difference from cutting down, like, let you eat 5 times. She's just like, cut it to 3 times a week. They're like, you don't have no clue how much of a difference, like adding a little bit more vegetables. And the other thing is she was like, don't buy more food than you need. Because, dude, this one is crazy that I learned today. 20% of food that we produce ends up turning into waste that doesn't get used. 1 out of 5 food that is produced in this country just goes in the fucking trash.
It's
and that
insane.
That's an insane number.
There's shit in my fridge that is not fit for any kind of consumption right now.
Not gonna get nothing. That's stuff that's not gonna get touched. It's just gonna exist there. But yeah, when she told me that, I was just like, all right, well, I guess I'll try to eat less and try. Because beef's apparently like the really bad meat. When you compare it, like the energy consumption to like the other meats, beef is through the roof. It is like insane. Because another one of the quizzes was like, what meat do you like? And I click beef, and like, and how often do you eat it? And I click that, and then they're just like, well, your beef consumption is averaging, and it listed all the damage that I am personally doing to the world. And I was like, I can't handle this. This is making me so sad.
It's like, I thought I was a shitty person beforehand.
Dude, yeah, it's unreal. So I'm gonna try to cut beef out one. I'm not gonna go to McDonald's twice. I cut once. McDonald's once a week and be like, all right, that's a couple burgers. Dude, I did the math in my head about how many burgers I eat in like a month, and it's like, this is not sustainable for my body. Like, I can't be doing like how many burger patties go in here, dude, because I'll go to McDonald's and get 2 McDoubles, and I'm like, all right, well, that's 4 burger patties in a meal, and that's too much. Like, that's that's too much.
It's so funny. Like, so I've been living in Plymouth here like a decade now, and the restaurants here are amazing and turned me into a bit of a food snob. And I started cutting out like all the chain. Like, I'm a very like shop local kind of person.
That's dope.
And COVID, for some reason, like triggered this. I need McDonald's. I need McDonald's. Dude. I was eating McDonald's like 3 times a week.
It's so fucking good. It's not. It's a.
No, it's terrible. It's disgusting.
It's delicious. It's delicious.
It is horrible. It's like so eating it, I'm like, I hate myself. Oh man! But there was something about like being in the pandemic specifically that I don't know whether it was like this childhood.
Yeah, it's comforting.
Comfort thing. Yeah.
It is absolutely comforting to get a McDonald's cheeseburger and a fry. It's just very just like, yeah, these fries are great. Oh my God, this burger tastes exactly the way I remember it tasting when I was 5 years old. Yeah. It's the exact same food. They have been consistent for decades. But I don't think it is. You get hooked as a kid. I think I think that like I would not like McDonald's if I hadn't eaten it as a child. Like, if my mouth hadn't been trained to be like, these are okay flavors. This is what this is supposed to taste like. Because it's like, I like McDonald's, but I also like a fresh burger, like where it's like hand ground at the place, and it's just like they do not taste the same at all.
They don't even taste like the same food. Like,
they don't taste like the same type of food. Yeah, at all.
Yeah, like you could hand someone like a fresh ground burger and be like, this is beef. And then hand someone a McDonald's burger and go, what is this? And I go, I don't know.
I don't know.
Horse? I don't know.
Horse meat.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's so weird. So now I'm trying to like, and it is kind of has that drug appeal where it's like you go 3 times a week and then you're like, all right, I need to cut back. Maybe only go twice a week.
Yep.
You almost have to like wean yourself off.
Well, it just hits that reward center in your brain of just like, this feels good. This makes me feel good. And then afterwards you're like, what am I doing? Like, I feel so gross.
It like hugs your stomach and then kicks the shit out of your colon.
Yeah, it does, dude. It's a very abusive relationship. Very much so.
So what do you have going on now? Are you doing clubs, and you're talking about things open?
Yeah,
are you out?
I'm working clubs that I can get in, and I think like the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm pretty booked through June, and then I'm booked through the 4th of July pretty much.
Nice.
Pretty consistently, and it's like it's enough to like where I'm making ends meet. I'm not gonna go bankrupt. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right, I'm paying my bills. This fucking rules. I think I'm gonna probably spend the entire month of June. I'm gonna try to, I think, contact a bunch of breweries up and down the East Coast and just see if like, hey, like, can you give me this as my budget? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to headline a bunch of these and comics to host and feature, and like pay them money to come out and host and feature, and try to make connections that way, and do club spots when I can. Because it's like this weekend I'm at the DC Improv, and then next weekend I'm at Good Nights Comedy Club in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm like recording an album there for Helium Comedy Records. They like asked me to record an album, so like,
oh, nice.
I've got cool stuff going on, but it's like the type of cool shit where it's like, well, I hope this cool shit gets me more cool shit, because if not, I'm gonna run out of work in about July. So.
But I mean, I feel like when you are that motivated, and you know, like, I've always found like hard work breeds more hard work. You know.
Yeah.
And we've actually just ran our first in real life non-essential comedy show, and it was at a brewery. Yeah.
How was it?
It was great. So we were still under COVID restrictions, so we had to sell like tables of tickets.
Yeah.
Which
I'm not opposed to. I kind of like the idea of like guaranteeing, hey, we're like, you have to buy this many seats, like we're going to get this amount of money. And like, and so I kind of like that aspect of it during the pandemic.
I'm not opposed to it. My thing is the sticker shock. Like one of our dominant things we did pre-COVID was we would do beer mug painting. So for like $15, we'd give you a mug and everything you need to decorate your own beer mug, and we would sell like 40, 50 tickets.
Yeah.
And so then COVID hit, we had to do per table.
Yeah.
And we weren't able to sell them. We didn't change the price. It just
it is a bit of a shocking thing when it goes from 15 to like fucking 60 because you got to buy 4 of them. So that's because I had last week and they were doing like a meal, 2 beers, and a comedy show. Yeah. So each ticket is $55, which isn't bad for a meal, 2 beers, and a comedy show. What is bad is one of their tables was like a 6 or 8 top, and you had to click, dude, it was like $400, and I was like, that is an absurd amount of money to put on a credit card for what the fuck I'm gonna do on stage. That is insane. And they almost sold out. It was really fun, but it was just really funny to see like one table left, $385.
And it's the thing is, if you just were like, hey, it's $10 to get in the show and there's food and there's beer, you'd probably spend the same amount, but it just triggers your brain in a different way. Yeah.
The seeing it all as one thing is so much. But I'm up with COVID restrictions rolling back. I'm hoping that if you want to buy one seat, you can. But just the idea, like I hope it's the type of thing where it's like we have single seats, 2 tops, and then whole tables, because it's just the idea of like, all right, cool. Even if it's a party of 3, they've now spent $60 for this one table. So it's like, we're going to get it. Because if not, because I think even with COVID, when the restrictions are lifted, people are not going to want to sit with people that they don't.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least for a little while.
At least for a minute. But I'm glad the show went well, man. That was awesome.
How many we had. So we had we sold 40 tickets.
Awesome.
We had 1, 2. So AJ hosted. Brianna was there, of course. Then we had 3 others and 1 drop-in, and we had 1 heckler band from the Brewery for Life. So I'd say that's a success.
What a win! What a win, dude! A heckler band from the Brewery for Life. That is awesome.
And it just became like such a weird thing. So we learned some stuff, as you always do, like don't put the bathroom behind where the comics are performing.
Hilarious.
So there's this one guy. The opening comic made a joke about how if he wanted cocaine, he'd talk to the guy in the untucked dress shirt, who then proceeded to go to the bathroom at least half a dozen times during the show.
Oh, yeah.
And I said something to my friend at the brewery. I'm like, Jesus, he was drunk. She's like, we served him 2 beers.
Oh, man.
So then I'm like, oh, my God, the cocaine wasn't a joke.
He's just doing blow in the bathroom.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. Everyone had a good time. And we're looking to do another one. So,
dude, hell yeah, man. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, I need to just feel like be like, all right, like if I take the month of July and August to go do a bunch of breweries and just like, Wednesday, Thursday, just like actually do it, be like, because that's the beautiful thing about a one-nighter. You can do a comedy show on a Tuesday night and sell okay. Yeah. Like which is just kind of nuts to think about. And usually breweries too, you can do a show at like 6:30 or 7, and then like there's usually people already at the brewery. And I've also noticed like when we've done comedy shows at breweries, if there's people there already drinking, and then you're like, hey, we're doing a comedy show, it's $15 to stay or like $10 to stay. At a brewery where they're already spending more money for craft beer and stuff, just to sit around and not have to leave and go drink somewhere else. So we'll see how that goes. I just want to keep working. My goal is to just like not have a bunch of off days and just be working, doing longer sets and just trying to be on the road as much as possible, but also like staying in DC and working the local clubs whenever I can too.
So that sounds very much like my mentality of like, if I have an hour not scheduled, I'll be like, well, what can I squeeze into that hour?
Yeah, what can I do? Like I need to figure it out.
Do you struggle with like a work? I mean, I know why I do it, because I'm crazy person, but do you struggle with like that work-life balance or?
Yeah, I struggle with it. I struggled with it more when I had a day job.
Yeah.
Because it would be like I would work 8 to 4,
Mm-hmm.
and then I lived just far enough out of town in Richmond, so I lived like 45 minutes to an hour outside of where I worked. So I would wake up at 6:30, shower, be at work by 8, and then from 8 to 4 I'm teaching, and then that's too far to go home and hang out before coming back to doing a show.
Right.
So it's just from 4 till usually 8. I'm just kind of sitting around and in town writing or hang out. And then I would do the mics, and then I wouldn't get home until 1 a.m. So it's like most of my nights were like just comedy. But now that I don't have the day job, it's like, all right, I can wake up and kind of relax. And if I want to go for a walk, I can go for a walk, listen to music, hang out with my roommates. If I'm on a whim and I'm just like, you know what, I think I want to just go out of town for a day and try to do a show somewhere out of town, even if it's just a mic. Like my work-life balance during COVID, and especially now with stuff coming back, has just been way better, because I used to be awful about it, man, because I just would work myself to death.
Yeah, I was the same way. I lost my full-time job because of COVID, and yeah, I would like get up and I'd go to work, and then I would leave, run by somewhere, go run an event, and stroll in at 12 o'clock at night and get up and do it again the next day.
Every day would just go by so fast, and I would be like, man, these weeks are gone. And like I was such a workaholic for comedy that it would just be like, if I took a night off to hang out with my girlfriend, or took a night off to hang out with my work friends, or a girl that I wanted to go on a date, like picking a date, like if the date wasn't, hey, come with me to this comedy show,
yeah,
I would just be on the date being like, fuck, am I show right now? People are getting better. I'm not getting better right now. And I had to like kind of just fucking breathe that out of myself, because I was just like, I was just ruining every interaction that wasn't comedy.
Yeah, I totally relate to that, because I'm kind of in the early stages of a dating type thing, so it's like you kind of want to spend as much time with that person.
Yeah.
But then like when you do, you're like, fuck,
Yeah,
I was supposed to do such and such, or I was supposed to do this.
Trying to make sacrifices. It's like with my girlfriend, it's just like she's already about like an hour, like she lives like 2 hours from me right now, like already moved to go to grad school, and it's just the type of thing where it's just like, while you got the time now, hang out and just have that work-life balance, and just realizing like, just because you're doing stuff with other people doesn't mean your work's going to dry up. It doesn't mean you're going to magically become not funny because you took one night off to like go out to eat. But that's my fear, man. I want to be as good as I can possibly be, and I just feel like the only time I get better is when I'm doing a bunch of shows.
And I feel like some of it, because I'm definitely the kind of person who just works constantly. If someone stops to talk to me, I'm like going to promote the podcast or promote something.
Yep.
But I mean, from a stand-up comedy standpoint, I would think that if you didn't take the time to go out and do something, or take a day trip, that you're going to lose those bits of life that you get to mine the jokes from.
Yeah, and that's what I keep telling myself. It's just like, at least when I used to have the day job, it was like, all right, well, I'm getting stuff from work. I'm getting my those the bits of life that I'm getting. But now where it's just existing, it's like, all right, well, I'll watch a little TV, I'll go out to eat, I'll go do something kind of fun, and just try to figure it out from there.
Do you kind of look for like unusual things to do to kind of be like, oh, this is kind of fucking weird, let me go do this because it might have a comedy angle? Or do you just kind of go about?
No, I just like fucking go for it. Just like we'll fucking do whatever, man. I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, let's just have fun. It seems interesting, and it's like, it's more about like getting quality time with like people that I care about. So like friends, girlfriend, family, and just being like, you know what, I don't want to regret not doing these things. There will always be more shows.
Yeah. Are you over the COVID jokes?
It's weird, it's like I don't mind them when they're not the same ones over and over again.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, this is a bigger deal than 9/11, so it's like we're gonna hear about this for a while.
Oh,
Like
sure.
this is like a worldwide event. It's more like, do you have a unique take on it? Because it's like, dude, from doing the online stuff, I would just hear hundreds of comics doing the same COVID jokes in just varying forms of goodness, just over and over and over again. It was brutal.
And that's kind of one of those things where you hear about, so and so stole so and so's joke. It's like how much of it is actual theft and how much is it just,
Which is hacky. It's just like
yeah,
it's more like it's less like, oh, we're stealing stuff. It's like, yeah, no one's stealing stuff, but it's like it's common sense.
yeah,
Like it's just what it is. Hold on, let me respond to this one email real quick.
sure.
Sorry. All right, cool. Sorry. It's
No worries.
my buddy is so I was supposed to headline at this restaurant like in the middle of nowhere, and it paid okay, and I was supposed to do that like this Friday, but then I got booked at the DC Improv, and it's the type of thing where it's like they just opened back up. I can't afford to not take that gig, so I have a buddy who's filling in for me, but he's choosing today at this moment to ask all of the questions that he needs answered, where it's literally like, I've explained all of this to him, and he's very funny, but how long am I doing? Does it have to be clean? Blah, blah, blah. He said, you did 35 minutes when you did it right. And I'm like, well, I did 35, but they want you to do an hour because you're getting paid more money. It doesn't have to be clean. This is when you have to be there. All these things. Then he goes, so it does have to be clean. I'm like, I just fucking told you it doesn't have to be clean.
It's so funny. Inebri-art kind of spawned out of this weird situation where I am by far not the best artist.
Yeah.
Not even close. But I'm the most organized.
Okay.
And I'm used to dealing with, those weird artist creative type people. And I've worked retail my whole life. So I'm used to working with normal people. And so I've become like this liaison between the two where you're like, I know how to translate normal speak to artist speak.
Same here, man. Between stand-up and teaching, I know like what people are trying to say. And I'm not even like upset at him. I get it. I'm someone that's like, I want to know exactly what I have to do so that I don't fuck it up for you. But it's just the type of thing where it's like, I feel like I've already told him all this. I can't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if him asking me questions is gaslighting me into thinking I haven't given him the information. I'm just like, I guess if he's asking all this, I haven't fucking told him all these things. But he's going to do great. He's a great comic. He's one of the ones like it just didn't click with him. Like he couldn't find a way to make it fun. Yeah, is what I think, because there's a lot of times where it's like, yeah, the shows are pretty terrible on Zoom. Like y'all's was pretty good, surprisingly. Like for most of the ones I do,
thank you,
or the open mics, pretty, and some of the booked ones just fucking bad and not fun. So you have to find ways to make them fun. And I would tell him like, hey, this is what I do to make it fun, and he was just like, no.
So like, what were some of the things that you would do?
I would make myself try new jokes. I would make sure that it's like, all right, like if you're on a show and it's not fun, but it's a bunch of comics from different parts of the country, like pay attention to what I'm doing. And this is something I do in real life. If I'm watching comics that I know while I'm listening to their sets, I'll try to write tags and stuff for them to try to help them. And not just, I'm definitely not going to be like, hey, I got some tags for you. I would just be like, hey, I like these things. I had a couple notes if you want notes. If not, nice to meet you. And just trying to be like, I mean, not being fake about it, but just being like, make sure to try to make an actual connection with some of these people, like to just talk to people, show an interest in what they do. And maybe it leads to more work, or like it leads to like one day down the line, I get to work with these people.
Yeah.
But between that, trying to punch other people's stuff up to try to like continue to practice writing, making myself try. It's like, there's just times where it's like, it's just really funny how bad the shows are. Like it is. Where it's like people that say they're comedians and then they run a virtual show, and the way that it's run is just like, this is laughable. Like my mother, I could be like, Mom, I need you to put it and run a show together on Zoom. And she can barely work a computer, and she would do a much better job than what some of these fucking Zoom shows are. Yeah. It's just unreal.
And there was a definite learning curve. I think back to the early ones, and it's just like, wasn't great. And, I love AJ, but sometimes you get AJ and he's talking he'll talk shop and talk about people, and he'll be like, no, this isn't funny. It's funny to the comedians in the room, but
Yes,
it's like
but not
everyone
funny
else
to
has
the
no
audience.
idea who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Mine's more like when you do a show and they're like, yeah, we don't have any audience in the Zoom room. It's just the comics, but we're streaming to Facebook. And I'm like, then why the fuck are we even doing this? Like, what
Right.
is the point? There's no audience in here. I'm getting no feedback. I just have to deliver my joke. I'm also a comic that, like, I don't do it a ton on Zoom because of this reason, but it's like I'm a comic that does a lot of crowd work. And it's like, and you're telling me there's no crowd for me to even riff like a line off of. And it's just, I have to, these comics are just going to hear me telling the same jokes. And then I have to watch them and pretend like I give a fuck about the same jokes that they're.
Yeah.
No, come on.
There's no reason why you can't have both. And I think that's
Yes.
what we did well with is
Dude, both is the best.
The Facebook stream is always up there, and then we put it up on YouTube. So, it can always kind of find its own home there.
I did one in a Facebook. It was like a stream in a group. So this guy ran this humongous group about like where people could stream playing music. And the whole part was like, it was like a virtual bar. So you could go and drink, and it's, you can drink at home and like watch these things and converse in the chat. Like he was really trying to be like, hey, this is a bar, blah, blah, blah. And he booked my buddy to run a con. And he had it. So cool, of course, not knowing. I was like, oh my God. He goes, the group has like 1,500 members. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Some of them will show up in the Zoom, right? Nope. Nobody in the Zoom. It was a private Zoom, just the comics, streamed to Facebook. And I had to do like 20 minutes. And I went last. So I'm watching the Facebook stream in the Facebook group, and it is people in the stream just shitting on every comic. Just like, this is terrible. What the fuck is this shit? And I had watched this, and I was like, well, I'm not going out like a bitch. Like, that's not. So I spent my entire 20 minutes just talking shit about everybody in the group. And just being like, fuck you. And it was like, minutes of that, and then 5 minutes of jokes at the end. And then I went back and checked the Facebook stream, and they liked that I was giving them shit. And I was like, oh, these are just like regular drunk assholes at a bar. Like,
they were right. It was just like a bar.
It was just like a bar show. You just had to be mean to people, but I just couldn't see them. It's
that's so brutal. Funny. Did you have any weird like so there was one show we were doing, and my job is to kind of like control the room, and the hardest thing is tracking who's like where the background noise is coming from.
Yeah, it's hard.
And not accidentally muting the comic in the middle of their bit, which I've done. But there was one time, so you're trying to like keep an eye on everyone's camera, and someone's like, is someone showering? And it looked like someone starting to shave their legs, and I'm like, okay, that person's good. But like, have you had any like weird shit like that?
I had like one Zoom bomber where their whole point was to ruin the show. But like outside of that, where it's just people being weird, it's just like people eating in front of the camera, and not like eating like if I was, doing this, but like where the camera is down low and they're at the table, and it's just like they're this close to the camera and they're just shoveling food into their mouth.
Yeah.
And just like with the mute on, but I'm like, gee, I would want to see, because that's distracting to it's mostly people just doing distracting things. Like people, I've seen people arguing with each other with the mute on, and I'm felt like I was watching a divorce happen on Zoom. Just a couple yelling at each other, but it's muted while I'm trying to tell my jokes. Shit like that's pretty funny, but it's just crazy, man. And then people forgetting to mute, and then just hearing a conversation, just an inane, dumb, ignorant conversation in the background. It's just like,
and for some reason, those people have the best internet connection.
Yeah,
the best quality microphone.
Yeah, high quality, like the type of mic that's so high quality it's cutting over my like stand up. Like,
yeah, exactly. Those are always the worst.
Unreal.
So, where can people go to find out where you will be playing and performing? And
man, winstonhodges.com has like my whole calendar. And if you like, or interested in what I do, I'm trying to stay pretty active on like TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, and all those are at Winston H Comedy. So Winston, the letter H, and then comedy. But the winstonhodges.com has like, I think my Instagram and Twitter are both linked to that. The only thing that's not is the TikTok, and all my podcasts are on there, my comedy special, all my upcoming gigs. It's a pretty good hub to go check out and see what I'm doing. And if you like what I do, tell about it.
Nice. Yeah, TikTok makes me feel like the oldest like Makes me feel like a
Yeah.
boomer because I just don't get it. Like
Yeah,
I don't.
it did at first until like I started like when I first started, I was like, oh, this is all people dancing. This sucks. But the algorithm learns you pretty quick. And like the videos that I liked, it started just kind of just give me that. So my TikTok is all just some of the cringiest shit. And it's great. It's just people like being morons and idiots and like just fucking the dumbest people. And I love it. I'm so happy with TikTok right now. It's the stupidest human beings that have ever lived. Just gross individuals.
I think I just need to commit time to it and figure out.
Yeah, you do. If you just like doing out to just kind of like go through and figure out like what you like and make sure you like the videos you like. And if you don't like one, fucking skip by it immediately. And after like a week or two, it kind of learns you and you'll start pretty much seeing the shit that you really want to see.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out like how to promote like Inebri-art through it. And that's just like
clipping stuff out and just posting multiple times a day, man.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. And then just like the catchiest clickbaity titles and clickbaity audio clips, just whatever. And it's hopefully it just catches people's attentions. But that's the move, man.
Cool. All right, man. This was awesome. Thanks for taking the time to chit chat with us.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. You're welcome on the show anytime. And when you are traveling up this way, let us know. Maybe we'll see if we can. If we have a show, we can get you on, or I can get you in. I work with a ton of breweries, so maybe I can.
Yeah, dude, I would love that. That would be sweet, man.
So cool, man. That's it. And for our listeners, we'll catch you guys again next week. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or on Instagram at Inebri-art6. You can email us at Inebri-art@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.